I've got a question for everyone. How do you handle your stress? When you're having a stressful day at work, a stressful day in your life, how do you handle that? For me, personally, I pull weeds. I come out here to the garden. Sometimes I just sit down and relax and enjoy the scenery, aka birds and beetles that fly around out here. So I just pull weeds. Because to me, gardening is my therapy. Even before COVID hit, it was my therapy. During COVID, when I was working in the hospital, I would de-stress at the end of the day by going outside into my garden and watering my plants. That the simple way that I was hand watering my plants, and it really helped calm me down. It centered me. It allowed me to go back in and be with my family. It allowed me to go back in and cook dinner. It calmed my nerves, so to speak. So that's why I like to garden, because it centers me. It gives me a purpose in life. And now that I'm retired and I'm about to be a grandmother, it's beneficial, because then I plan on making homemade baby food for my grandson. That way he can have organic baby food without it costing my son-in-law, my daughter, an arm and a leg. They'll know what they're putting in their baby's body. And I know where the food will come from. It'll come from this garden, as well as my own personal home garden. So why do you garden? Do you garden because you get fresh produce? Do you garden because it's cheaper than a grocery store nowadays? Do you garden because you like having pretty flowers out there in your yard? So why do you garden? Because that is always on everybody's list. And last year, somebody on Facebook was saying, why do you garden? And I commented on it that it was my therapy. It was how I deal with things. It's how I deal with stress. It's how I deal with grief in my life. So gardening is my therapy. And yeah, it is cheaper than, going out to the grocery store and buying organic food, because it may have an organic sticker on it, but is it really organic? Did they put pesticides on it? How fresh is that apple that you're biting into right now, So when you grow your own food, you know exactly when it was brought in from the garden. You know that you're eating something, and you know what went into producing that item. Potatoes, by the time you get them, get that 5-pound bag of potatoes at the store, it could be up to a year old. That's why they sprout so often after you buy them, because they're old and they've been sitting in some warehouse for up to a year. Eggs, I've read, the person that you're getting your eggs from, even if it's from a store, it could be up to 2 months old. They have farmers have about 30 days to take that egg and put it in a carton and then pass it on to somebody else. And then they keep it, grocery stores will keep it refrigerated. They will keep it on their shelf for 30 days and then they'll get rid of it. So the eggs that you're eating, it's about two months old. Whereas if you have chickens, you can go up there that morning and get a couple eggs from the chickens for your breakfast. That fresh, still warm, Or, if you want to, if you're raising your own meat, you know where that meat is from. You know how old that meat is. And when I say it's cheaper, it may not be cheaper to raise your own hog or your sheep or whatever, but I'll tell you what, you know where it's coming from. You know what you fed that animal. It could be organic, or it could, you could be giving your cow injections, But at least you know where that meat is coming from. You know how old that meat is. You know the condition of that meat. So when my friend Tracy said, I'm going to get some sheep and raise them for meat, it's like, yeah, count me in. Because we don't eat a lot of lamb, but come on, you go out to a store, and when you can find lamb, it's expensive. You can use lamb meat to make lamb chops, Irish stew, lamb burgers, basically anything that you can use, you can mix ground lamb in there with some beef and have, a burger, a very healthy burger. So yeah. And when you grow your own vegetables, let's take a seed packet, $4 seed packet, okay? You factor in a little bit of water. If you're in a dry climate like we are, you factor in the water. You factor in the fertilizer. Yeah, all that stuff's going to cost you. But come on. Let's just say you grow a tomato plant. You get, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 seeds in a tomato packet. That's $4 right there. And then you go out, if you go out and you buy a tomato plant, that's going to be, let's just say $5 if you don't have somebody you can buy it from. And then, you put your time and you put your effort into growing that tomato plant. It's guaranteed to be fresh. If you grow it organically, you're guaranteed that it's not going to have pesticides and stuff in it. Sure, it might have some pest damage to it, but hey, that comes from growing organically, So yeah, if you know the right people, if you have your garden set up, it's often cheaper in the long run. So that's why I garden, because I love my family. I love my soon-to-be grandchild, and I want to make sure they're as healthy as they can be, and that includes eating healthy foods. And yes, I plan on giving my kids some lamb. I've only got half a lamb, but maybe next year I might buy a full lamb and raise it, But yeah, that's part of life. You know, you might think animals are pets, you know, and yeah, you might want to keep your chickens as pets, but you get a byproduct from that. You get the chicken manure that you put out there in your garden. And you get that by giving your chickens kitchen scraps. Like um, like you can give them your carrot peels. You can give them all sorts of things. Ooh, sorry about that. You know, you can give them whatever, you know, and it's good. You'll have fresh eggs, and that's good. You'll have the fresh manure, and that's one thing you won't have to buy for your garden. You know, you can keep your costs down by doing that like that. Um, if you know somebody that has a restaurant and they have scraps of food, you know, it could be things like, oh, look, the cabbage is, you know, past its expiration date, so we have to get rid of it. Get the cabbage from them, you know. That's something that you can help keep your costs down. So this day and age, with, well, I don't want to go into political discussions with you, because that's not what my channel is going to be focusing on. My channel is going to be focusing on growing my own food and preserving it. So I don't want to get into political debates with people because, yeah, you know, you're a person, I respect your opinion, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with you all the time. So, you know, this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, you know, because I enjoy gardening. I do. It's been a hobby. It always hasn't been a very good one, very productive one, but it's a hobby, you know. And it's something that I want to continue. Even if I move out of state, I plan on having a garden. I plan on having chickens wherever I move. So that's important to me, you know. It's important to me because it's gardening is being out here in the garden is like me time. It allows me to reflect on what I want to accomplish in this life. It calms me down. I mean, come on, this is better than spending $100 on a therapist, you know? And you get fresh produce too, so that's always a win. So that's why I garden. Like I said, leave me a comment below on why you garden. People garden for different reasons. People garden for survival. You know, our ancestors used to grow their own food. So why shouldn't we? Even if you've got an apartment with a balcony, you can still grow stuff out there on your balcony, you know? And to me, it's all worthwhile. My son had a onion that sprouted, so he planted it, and he was growing an onion. Yeah, so that's, you know, I passed down my love of gardening to my children. I want my daughter to enjoy a garden sooner or later when she gets her own home. I want her to have a garden. I want my grandchild to grow up knowing where his food comes from. And to me, you know, it doesn't come from a grocery store. It comes from gardens like this, you know. Well, that's enough for now. So I will talk to you later on, okay? Thanks for stopping by. Have a good day. Bye-bye.